Good morning, patriotic sons and daughters of Isimborg. Pound, IBUSA Isu for Good morning, the good people of IBUZO, ladies and gentlemen. This part 2 of the issue of the forged government white paper that produced what we have today as the OBUZOR of IBUZO, which from all definitions is now defined as a fake OBUZO. The hunter does not have any value for domestic animals, but we see how it goes in this our battle. People who think, oh, you confer another fake Odogu, that will distract my national struggle over the continued senseless of Christians in Nigeria, Christian genocide. If you obstruct my battle, you are lying. I don't fight. I fight in multiple fronts, and I'm glad that I'm created for that. So both the battles continue on both sides. I've made my positions clear, and let me state it obvious to many people, to those who might have known, that the position of IBUZO people, generality of IBUZO people, is that the present OBUZO institution is never acceptable to IBUZO people, both before its concoction and after to the present. And this fully explained by paragraph 2 of the so-called white paper, which explicitly stated that the elders and leaders of IBUZO said they do not support OBUZO institution. And as I stated earlier, there is still a lacuna between that point of rejection and the point where we were told that successor to OBJE, senior of IBUZO, eventually signed it. So who signed it? That's just one part. I've led a complaint. I've made an expose of the forgery of a document called. Let me state it in full, because this is a copy here, so I'm not talking out of whatever. This is the so-called government white paper. So for people who don't know, this is it. So so it's even produced. Let me say about the traditional rulers council and so forth. So sorry, that was not. It's online, but this is the Delta State Gazette on traditional chieftaincy. I think we'll come to that later. But let me make it clear that I am not speaking in innuendos. I am not speaking in hyperbole. I am talking truth, incontrovertible truth, indisputable truth about the forgery of the white paper that produced the present OBUZO. And forgery is forgery. No two ways about it. Well, let me just say something. I remember, well, His Majesty's leader of opposition in the British House of Commons, the most adorable, Right Honorable Kemi Badenoch, once said, "This is woman to woman," unquote. So in this case, this is man to man. And I'm calling Chief Dr. Austin Isabo, PhD, to come. I've mentioned this several times, and I've still mentioned it. I'm challenging him with his PhD to come out and challenge me over the forgery of this paper. If I'm lying, if he's a man, let him come and tell IBUZO that what I'm saying about the forgery of the white paper is a lie. And in fact, it's not a question of this is man to man. So I'm calling on the so-called OBUZO, Obi Professor Chelon Wobosh, to come and say that what made him OBUZO today is not constructed on forgery, outright forgery, that was presented to the government of Delta State as the reality of the people's opinion. I'm also calling their so-called 419 Odogu, Chief Charlie, Mr. Charlie, Okonkwo, whatever. Let him come out, because if as Odogu, I defend my people, I defend those people on my side, and IBUSA people are aware of that, and I continue to defend. If it's Odogu, let him come out and defend OBUZOR, because that is his primary duty as his son Odogu. That is primary duty as his son Odogu. As our adorable Kemi Badona clearly said, this is man to this, this is woman to man. In my own case, this is man to man. Speak out. I have now said that the man who made you Odogu is sitting on what? On a trembling, wobbling chair of forgery. And forgery, there is no, do I say, well, let me put it generally, there's no expiry date. Let me just put it simple. There's no expiry date for forgery under Nigerian law. Forgery is forgery. Maybe when my team of lawyers, not the lawyers that the DSSS will peep into my WhatsApp and then collect their names and then tell them, don't withdraw from this case. Lawyers that DSSS cannot cover into not pursuing my case. When the lawyers, respectable lawyers, present their petition on this forgery to Delta State government, then maybe the Chief Tenancy Affairs or Deputy Governor's Office will now tell them, oh, since OBUZOR is now already conferred with the title of OBUZOR, and has been issued a certificate, it has become a reality. It has become it has nullified the forgery aspect of it, the forgery character of it, the forgery identity of his position. Maybe just as one blessing, I don't know whether it's a Mrs. or a Miss from Chief Tenancy Affairs in Deputy Governor's Office called my lawyer in a voice note and told him that, oh, he should tell me that they've searched for my certificate of Chief Tenancy in their files. They did not see it. If I can present it. Can I imagine that? Can I imagine? That was OBUZOR's narrative. That was Obi Professional Non-Abortion narrative. And that since I don't have certificate in their file, is now I am not Odogu of IBUSA. He can do whatever he likes and appoint her. That's his own narrative. And so when I say that some people have been bought already in the Deputy Governor's Office, I can now be proved right by that action. That I've told, I sent back to her, I told her, make sure the report, I'm not telling you not to present your report, but make sure the report you present is defensible before the court of law and before the people who are listening to us. I didn't want to, yes, I wanted to rush to court, but they told me no. I will not be doing justice to my case, to other people if I rush to court, because the short court matter will be only result to a select few of people. Now, it is a global question and answer period in this my matter. And that is why before even we get to the extent of court, people, the public, we know the truth, and then to test the transparency of Delta State government in handling such disputes. He's telling me about certificates. If she doesn't know, it shows that she did not even read my petition. Because if she had read my petition, which she was asked to bring up a report with, she shouldn't have started by asking me my what? My certificate. Because everything about the certificate is stated. And the law, the Delta State law, this is it. Delta State, Gazette. Delta State of Nigeria Gazette. This is it. I am with his life here. I am with his life here. So it's not a question of people telling it is explicit. This Gazette is explicit. Named, that is Traditional Rulers, Council and Chiefs Edit, 1998. Published in January 1999. They took effect, the law was made in 1998. And that is the legal document guiding traditional rulers, their council, and the chief tenancy appointments and confinement in Delta State. That is the law. And this is what blessing should have known before going about. And as amended, even those amendments did not affect my section dealing with me. Blessing was talking about my certificate, no registration for a certificate. Let me educate her properly. These are documents that are before her. This one, this edit in what? In section 11, clearly states that government declarations are deemed law. There's a declaration in that office, a copy of which I submitted to them, on the selection, appointment, and conferment of Odogo title. It is defined that. It's in their file there. What I presented was a copy of the certified true copy of that document from the office there. It's there. And that should be the guiding principle in any judgment or any decision in my petition. The number one question, the number one fundamental question to blessing of children's affairs is, did that law, that declaration, state that OBUZOR or the of IBUSA should be the person who confers Odogo title in IBUSA? Did the appointment of OBUZOR, did the declaration, did the appointment of OBUZOR, children as OBUZOR, abrogate that law? Because even OBUZOR's law was made under 1979 edict of Bende State. Not even on Delta State, not even on basis of this. So that is number one question, and that is number one basis of my petition. By the law that decides the appointment of Odogo of IBUSA under IBUSA native law and custom, as approved by this Delta State edict on traditional rulers, their council, and chiefs of Delta State, does it approve that OBUZOR should appoint the Odogo of IBUSA? That is fundamental question. Lesson is going into the issue of certificate. Let us even look at the issue of certificate, she's talking about. Let us go to let me go direct to section 25.2. Section 25.2. So that section 25, section 2 states, and let me quote verbatim: the conferment of a chieftaincy title shall be valid from the date of conferment. That is section what? 25.2. The conferment of a chieftaincy title shall be valid from the date of conferment, not from the date of issuance of what? Of certificate or whatever. And I've presented reasons why that my people had presented me to be issued a certificate. It is there in the file. All the documents are there. She didn't go through it. And she asked me, she did not see my certificate in the file. Now let us even go to section 25.1. It reads, the prescribed authority or the secretary to the committee, prescribed authority or secretary to the committee, shall forward the name and other particulars of a chief, whether traditional or honorary, or whom a title has conferred under this part, to the appropriate government department for registration. The question is, why didn't OBUZOR forward my name if my name is not there as a prescribed authority? And if they said other ones, or the other people, my people as the IBUSA Traditional Council forwarded my name to the government for registration, why didn't the government register my name? I'm talking about 2006. You understand? 2006, yeah, 2006. What I'm talking, let us even go to section 23 of the same edit. He said, where a traditional title in a federated clan, is under customary law, not conferred by the prescribed authority. In other words, the law recognizes under Delta State native law and custom, that there are certain traditional titles that the prescribed authority has no authority to confer on, of which this Odogwu is part, the Kwele is part, the Uwolo is part, the ESA is part, the Omo is part. The IBUSO, under IBUSO native law and custom, neither the Duopo or OBUZOR has the right to confer these titles. So whatever OBUZOR is doing, even the conferment of Uwolo title was illegal in law and in tradition. In native law and custom, it was illegal. He said, where the holder of a traditional chieftaincy title in a federated clan is not subject to the jurisdiction of the prescribed authority under customary law, the Executive Council shall, by order, apply the provisions of this section to such traditional chieftaincy title. So, why didn't the Delta State government apply this section when IBUSO Traditional Council submitted my name to the government through the Commissioner of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs? Delta State. Why? Let us even go to section 2 of that 23. It said the traditional committee may and shall, if so required by the appropriate authority, make a declaration in writing stating the customary law which regulates the selection of a person to be the holder of a traditional chieftaincy title to which the provision of this section have been applied. He now quoted subsection 3 now talks about other sections that are applicable to this particular section. And that was what my people did in 1974. Following the same crisis of this Odogwu title, who makes the people trying to appropriate it and so on, trying to claim and so on and so, the government had to wait and set up a committee, chieftaincy committee of Anyocha District Council. There was no local government area then, it was District Council. Under His Royal Highness OBUZOR, the first of Ogwashukwu, the chairman. And they designed the declaration on how Odogwu IBUSO should be selected and conferred. Right from the time of Midwest State to Bende State. And it was that was what became the document. And when Delta State was created, it was transferred from Benin to Delta State. And it's there as a repository in the department, in the Directorate of Chieftaincy Affairs. And Blessing is telling us about, was asking me about my certificate. When the issue in question is clear, there. Because when we talk about people being bought over, this is the manifestation of the evidence that OBUZOR has reached out to some people in the Governor's office to forge a report as they forge his own white paper. Now that is section. Now let us even go to section 22, where they can have some. The section 22 says. Section 22, subsection 1 says, the conferment of a traditional chieftaincy title shall be in accordance with the customary law. Customary law, that is number 1. Customary law. So the conferment of Odogwu title last Saturday by Obi Professor Normal, does it abide by the IBUSO customary law? That is another question. Fundamental question. So, which president did he abide by IBUSO customary law as stated by this part section 22(1)(b)? And it continues, and shall be subject to the approval of prescribed authority, or where the provision of section 23 has been applied to the approval of the Executive Council. In other words, that section 23 talks about those titles that are not conferred by the prescribed authority. It is only the Executive Council of Delta State government that can approve them. So the onus of approving or issuing me registration by the Odogwu as Odogwu of IBUSO does not rely on the OBUZOR. It relies on the Delta State government. And the application was presented in 2006. It was presented in 2006 to the Commissioner of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, and the documents as were presented in my petition. So what is Blessing talking about? And then let us even go to the main anchor, which is section 22, subsection 2. It says, where a traditional chieftaincy title is conferred on a person by those entitled by customary law so to do, and in accordance with customary law, the prescribed authority or the executive council, as the case may be, shall approve the appointment. So it is not a question of, I did not support Odogo of IBUSO. I cannot approve it. For that, it cannot be. You don't have the right, because the law is explicit there. Those who have right, you have no, OBUZOR of IBUSO has no right to confer Odogo title on anybody, according to Delta state law, according to IBUSO customs and tradition. So I don't know what Blessing was talking about. If not that she was bought by OBUZOR to ask that kind of question. It was an infantile question to somebody like me. It shows that she did not read my petition. And these are the kind of people they are now entrusting the tedious duty of critically analyzing such a comprehensive petitions with comprehensive attachments. And they think positive result will come out from them. That is it. So let us even go to the same section 22 and subsection 3. He said, where there is a dispute, as to whether a traditional chieftaincy title has been conferred on a person in accordance with customary law, or as to whether a traditional chieftaincy title has been conferred on the right person, the committee may first determine the dispute. So before proceeding to the court, this section 22.3 implores me to report, write by petition to the deputy governor who is in charge of chieftaincy and traditional rulers matter. He should now set up a committee to investigate my case. If I'm not satisfied, I cannot proceed further to anywhere I want, either World Court or Hague or whatever, or Supreme Court or whatever. But the primary issue is what I have now done, according to section 22, subsection 3. So I'm employing this committee, not a person, not somebody to write a report, not Blessing to write a report, but a committee that can summon the person I petition to, let him come and explain himself, and I will explain myself. Should do it. And that is my request to the deputy governor, to His Excellency, the deputy governor of Delta State, to apply this subsection 3 and not entrust my case to Blessing, who did not even, who saw the reading of my even my petition, 2 laborers for her, before arriving at her decision to write a report. Report on what? Something you did not read? Something you did not understand? Something you did not critically analyze? Now let me end this section by stating subsection 4 of that section 22. It says, the prescribed authority shall not withhold the approval or the conferment of a chieftaincy title on a person if such conferment is made in accordance with the customary law regulating the conferment of the chieftaincy title. Let me repeat this subsection, section 22 and subsection 4 again. The prescribed authority shall not withhold approval of the conferment of a traditional chieftaincy title on a person if such conferment is made in accordance with the customary law regulating the conferment of the title. So the issue, so the fundamental question is, was I conferred according to the customary law regulating the conferment of Odogo IBUSO Council? If so, why did OBUZOR fail to submit my name? Why did he decide to withhold my name from the government? This is a query that should go, because this is a matter of the relation of his duty as a traditional ruler. And again, going ahead to appoint a fake substitute in law and tradition. And Blessing is asking me. He searched for my certificate, she did not see. Certificate what? Certificate is a product of a process of performance and training. If not, let me say performance. Certificate does not come first. Something must take place before you issue a certificate. So those things that generated those certificates, are they really right? Are they really true? If they smuggled to Clement Wenze's name there, smuggled it and said, oh, you are confined Odogo of IBUSA. When my people did not submit his name to, to government, and they said Diokpa conferred it. And by this law, it is not Diokpa that confers Odogo title. Does that certificate stand valid? Let me leave it that way so that people will learn. But let me point again that I am talking from extant law of Delta State. This is it. So this is it. So people should know that I'm not quoting Offred. So ladies and gentlemen, that is just on that side. People raise the question. So we are waiting. We are going to test the transparency of the Deputy Governor's Office in handling chieftaincy affairs. This one, Maudogo 30, will be a litmus test for the bigger case of the forgery of OBUZOR document, government white paper that created the present OBUZOR institution today. And I'm calling people like Ned Nwoku, who are sponsoring OBUZOR, to remove me, or Obi Anyase, the third of Idumujuno, who are telling him, do it. I'm telling them to come now and defend OBUZOR of IBUSA over the forgery of the stool he's sitting on to act illegally, to act dictatorially against me and other people of IBUSA. Let's go to the other one. That's just by the way. That is just one of the matters arising. The other matter arising was that somebody asked me, on my on personal ground, 3 men were struggling for your paternity. How did you resolve? I said, well, it's a personal matter, but the issue is that Mosisi told my grandmother that Obosh will decide at the right time who was my real father, and that was what Obosh did. It's a long story, which I've told somewhere, which will be another topic when people wants to know it. But the issue is that where I was born decided my true father, and that is why I'm answering Mwizigwe today. It's a long process, not so long. They can reduce to brief, but this is not the time for it. But that the second question was, when they were killing, why did the Buzo people wait until after the killing of 9 women by our cultists, our 419 children in their farmlands, and taking out their wombs? Why did Ibuzo waited for nine people to be killed before taking action? The point is that Ubuzo was claiming to be the traditional ruler of Ibuzo. He never acted, he never said anything, nothing. He was moving as normal, his interest, begging money, and then trying to pose as traditional ruler. He didn't do anything. We came, Ibuzo Traditional Council summoned Diokpa, we summoned us, Ibuzo, and they were talking how to resolve it. The army, the police, the security agencies will not resolve the issue. I told them, look, Ibuzo has a pattern of settling such matters that made us great in olden days. Let us go traditional. But a lot of them who are churches, like the present Diokpa of Umueka quarters, Chief A.W. Nogon, say, no, he's a Christian. He's a strong Catholic, and they will not go. That was what we argued, including even the present Diokpa Ibuzo. Paul Ije. They said, no, we cannot do it. I said, you can't go traditional? Okay. I went back because I did traditional, I did consultation. When I did consultation, they told me, look, this matter is not something I can solve alone. It's a community matter. So it is community that can come together and solve it. So when they rejected it, and I asked, can I protect my village, Ezuku? People around, some Ezuku elders around, they say yes. So I decided to protect my Ezuku headquarters. And summoned a meeting and told them what to go and gave them money, which they used to purchase a live goat, big goat, to do what I asked them to do. And they did it. And no, the killers never stepped into my quarters. And I went back to Nsukka, my base at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. I was in Nsukka when Obosh appeared to me and said, go back to IBUSA. They've done what you told them to do. So I came back, they briefed me and told me that they went to a native doctor in Kwale. To be precise, let me just make it clear. So, it will sound like fake. To Otabono Etwa. Just the village lying between Nsukka and Ejemono Etwa. And it was one Monday, a renowned native doctor that did it for them. And told them everything, those who were involved, and if they want to be exposed, immediately, or if they will do it, if they do it again, they will catch them. So leaders said, well, let them just not expose them, because some of them helped us. Let them help to contribute money for this search. Let them just do it. So he agreed to do it, and that was how I stopped. So when I came, they briefed me and they told me they had a balance. They will give him that. I will now go with the secretary, evangelist, who was secretary to the OBUZOR. That should now lead me to the man and give him the remaining balance. And thank him. Because Obosh told me as I'm going that he will surprise me. So I didn't know the kind of surprise Obosh said he will surprise me with. So again, I went there. I took Ebochionye in my car, my signature BMW convertible. I took him with my car. We drove straight away to meet Monday in Etwa. We greeted him and thanked him for what he did for IBUSA people. As I was stepping out to go, Ebochionye is alive. Monday called me back. And so Dogu, I said, yes. Where is your first and second son? I said, I only have one son. Not, I said, son, there's somebody who's supposed to be your first son. Not the person you are taking as your first son is your first son. There's somebody. So he called the lady's name. That this lady had her. So I said, oh, this lady had my son. She said, the child. I said, the child is not dead. That she was trying to give it to her former husband. That I go and tell her to release my son, that the boy is suffering. I said, I can't have money and my son is suffering, my face is suffering. That if she doesn't release my son, he one day will kill her. Ebochionye is there. Ebochionye is still alive. From the same village with OBUZOR. Will be Professor Cheluno Mwabosh from the same village. Because the former Diokba was from the same village with Obi Cheluno Mwabosh. It was not a question of village of Omeze, people saying, we Omeze want this. No. Between Omeze and Ezuku, there had never been any division. Even though the villages are there hadn't been any division. I'm Omeze, I'm Ezuku. Even when our traditional rights and privileges were fully respected, and everybody knew his customary boundaries outrightly. We went there. And I came back. I met the former Odogu then, Chief FC Wenze, Sir FC Wenze, who actually abdicated. I met, said it was in house. I called the lady. And that was how I returned my second son, or be first son. That was this. Ebochionye is there. So I'm not talking in terms of talking by hyperbole or by whatever. No. I'm talking fact experience. That is what people who are talking about IBUSA, they don't know anything about IBUSA. Somebody was asking me, Essay was there. Why did I say Essay? Which proof do I have that Essay was there? Send some assassins against me. I said, I don't need to tell you how I knew, but what normally inform me. And a few days later, as I was driving, I met Essay was there somewhere. And I dropped down and met him one-on-one and told him, Innocent, why are you trying me? Why are you sending your boys against me? Why? You know you cannot do. Why? Why are you doing that? He said he did not do anything. He didn't do anything. I said, is that true? If he says true, okay. Ask him, he's your present chairman of Oshmi, not local government area. Ask me if I didn't confront him one-on-one, live. Or he might not know. One day, on Sunday, a Sunday day, I was just told to go to Enugu Bosch and see what is happening there and see what was happening. So I took Charlie Parker, who was the whole of IBUSA. I told him, escort me to Obosh Uzozili to put something. I just took 15 to just bath myself. I want to just wash my head. So I took him. Charlie Parker is still alive. I took him in my car. For those who know the Obosh Uzozili, so I climbing towards Owash on this way. So I took, as I was parking, I saw some group of boys, and the same way I was addressing them. As we stepped down, the same way I disappeared. When Charlie Parker saw them, he was afraid. He wanted to say, follow me. So we passed them. Charlie Parker greeted them. I didn't greet them. I went back, poured water on my head, and there were about 50 boys, young IBUSA boys. And they were all greeting me. I answered their greeting, and we entered my car left. So you cannot have a local government chairman who is the head of cultists in IBUSA and you accept killings not to continue. You expect lives and property of IBUSA people not to be at risk. The other time, he invited the brigade commander, army, and so on and so forth. They came to visit him. Commissioner of police, they came to visit him. Because with these people, he covers up and protects himself why the heinous crimes are being done. I don't know the number of murderers of our sons who have been brought to book, who have been brought to justice, acting as Fulani herdsmen are doing in Nigeria today. You are killed, you kill, you are free. You destroy, you are free. Nobody, no law, no authority can question you. That is what is happening in IBUSA. A young promising man, a young boy, was killed in Fred Ajudio's house. The case went to police, DPP, they reported, he died. Nothing happened in IBUSA there. And Fred Ajudio's wife is still a commissioner in Sherry's government, Delta State. She was our member for 3 terms. And you think with such people in power that sanity will be in IBUSA. And you have an OBUZOR who is sitting on a forced stool, on a forced kingship, on a forced white paper, ruling IBUSA. And you think sanity can come to IBUSA. It's not possible. It is not possible. So let us face the facts and make sure that IBUSA is a powerful country. Unfortunately, Fred Ajuria has not learned his lesson to tell him why IBUSA was powerful. At the time, he was moving in billions. Army were escorting him, police were escorting him. He was moving with more than 100 convoy of cars. At the end of the day, Abacha humbled him. And when he came back, that was when we became friends. That was when we became friends. But that did not end again his urge. Next time, he went to where? Consecrating, appropriating, and seizing Umuadafe lands, selling. And he was locking up, imprisoning people who challenged him because he had the army, he had the police, he had the DSSS. As I said, that even somebody like Patutom, whose own land was even tampered with, when he went to DSSS director and commissioner of bodies, we were telling him nonsense about how to solve the problem. Because that was what Fred Ajuria did. And now Fred Ajuria has been released on bail now. I hope he will learn his lessons. Because our adage is very, very clear. Ofonye Sibiloha or Helisia. But Ohasibelo Fonye or Malaysia. When one person cooks for the multitude will finish it. But when the multitude cooks for one person, that single person will not finish it. And OBUZOR, talking nonsense, OBUZOR, their own traditional greeting, it is at the heart. Is at the heart of the ideology of IBUSA leadership, traditional ideology of IBUSA leadership. As the heavens are greater than the earth, so the Okpala, the Diokpa, the eldest man is greater than whoever that defines himself king. But in case of IBUSA, it is the king is greater than the Okpala. Doesn't you know that the Oba of Benin has Okpala who worships Odionedo, Ndichedo? Doesn't he know that the Esoban of Benin as Okpala of Benin Kingdom? That if he doesn't worship the Odionedo, the Ndichedo there in his house, the Oba of Benin cannot step out of his palace. Doesn't he know that? Because intellectual illiteracy is not a question of reading. Well, you can be a professor, but you are intellectually illiterate. It causes a lot of problems in Nigeria today. And that's the problem with Obi Professor Nwaobosh and some of those people who claim that they are educated. IBUSA is a powerful place. And some of us who are born into it, customally, traditionally, culturally, know about it. In the 1930s, when IBUSA had a serious land dispute with Okwashuku people, let me tell you instance how IBUSA is strong. You don't play with IBUSA people. When you play with IBUSA people, they give you time. At the appropriate time, you leave the stage. When IBUSA in the 1930s was in a serious land dispute, Oboli went and bore false witness against IBUSA. IBUSA ostracized Oboli. Obi Okonma Anam, I'm talking about the grandfather of Jude Okonma and Dom Okonma of Oboli. Their grandfather, Okonma Anam, a powerful warrant chief there, was invited by Obi Ezenwani of Ogwashikwu and told, if you support us, I will tell the white men to make you the Obi, the king of IBUSA. He went there and swore false witness against IBUSA. IBUSA shouted, "Eh? You Obi Okonma." What they did was to ostracize him. When they ostracized him, he went to colonial court. Then, with the help of Obi of Ogwashikwu, Ezenwani, the colonial government now fined IBUSA people for ostracizing him. IBUSA people, Okonma, so you, Okonma, you sued us. You sued the whole IBUSA. So you became the whole IBUSA. What do? They just invited Otuomo within the Otuomo IBUSA, because people don't know the role of Otuomo. So when I tell them that the present person who parades as Omo is not Omo IBUSA, even though she's my sister, it's my relative, the people don't know, because I worked with many Omos in IBUSA. People don't know what it takes to be an Omo. You can't be running a beer parlor, sleeping, having a boyfriend, seeing you at menses, and you're telling me you're Omo of IBUSA. Knowing the intricate relationship within sexualism and spiritualism, you're telling us you're Omo of IBUSA. These are the issues, these are the problem caused by IBUSA, because under IBUSA customs and tradition, she wouldn't have said she's Omo IBUSA. It was a lie, because the major leadership of IBUSA is corrupt, is decadent, is putrid. IBUSA said, okay. They invited Otuomo. Otuomo referred them to the Otuomo strike force led by Nsomo from Ezuku, a woman. IBUSA called Nsomo and said, we are now reporting Obi Okonma to you, to your group. Nsomo said, okay, give us 7 days. We judge the case. Under 7 days, Obi Okonma swear. She got swollen all over. And not long after, he died. And IBUSA did not bury him up to today. There was no traditional burial to him. He was buried outside IBUSO. That is the power of IBUSO spiritualism, traditionalism, and the instinctive power of authority hidden in IBUSO, which if you think you have money, you can do whatever thing you think, it cannot work. IBUSO man will normally say, come and get the for the chosen Iblumo. I want to interpret this. Anybody who wants to know this should ask any IBUSO person. Thank you and God bless you. As we proceed to the next part, I am your own son, Dr. Mwankwo Tony Nwezigwe Okoboshi Nwezigwe, the Odogwu of IBUSO.